The show can't start until we crack open a bottle of Revelton. Whether it's their crisp, clean vodka, the bold spice of their rye whiskey, the rich smoothness of bourbon, or the original honey whiskey that started it all, every pour is a taste of craft and passion straight from the heart of Iowa. So pour yourself a drink, ready to relax, laugh, and enjoy the show.
Hey, it's Andrew Downs. I'm proud to support Three Beards Media, and I would love to work with you. If you need merchandise for your company, organization, band, song, from name brand apparel to promotional items, large orders or small, online stores, and more, I can help your brand stand out. AKC Marketing is local, based in Johnston, and we are an employee-owned business, so our costs are low and our turnaround times are fast. But most importantly, we give you personal service to make sure you get exactly what you're looking for. Email me at find me on social media, and let's make some cool stuff together. Now sit back and enjoy this Three Beards Media podcast.
I feel the rumble, hear the battle cry. Out in Ames where the storms ignite, we don't back down, we rise and fight. Jack Trice's name, yeah, it echoes strong. A story of honor still marches on. Through the rain, through the pain, through the fire we roar. 'Cause we were built to thrive in the eye of the storm. Feel the ground shake, hear the crowd roar. Cyclone power, can't take no more. Legends stand tall in the eye of the storm. There's a cyclone blowing on the outskirts tonight. Jack Trice shakes when the team takes flight. Milton's rocking, hear the magic call. We rise together, we'll never fall. Feel the magic you can't deny. Mark the stars are taking off straight to the sky. Brick, big play, Kirby making history. When the moment gets tough, that's the cyclone way. Through the trenches, through the lane, through the heat, through the rain. When the storm comes blowing, we embrace the fight. 'Cause the cyclones strike when the time is right.
All right, welcome back to In the Side of the Storm, where we talk all things Cyclones. We are live from the AKC Marketing Studio with Andrew Downs and sponsored by Revelton Distilling Company out of Osceola, Iowa. I'm Dave Larson here with actually I'm not here with my Cyclone Vintage, Mr. Vintage and Mr. Legend, Brent Curvey and Marcus Pfizer. They had some other conflicts tonight that they're not able to attend, so did a pivot here and wanted to bring someone on that we've talked a little bit about. I brought him up several different times. Dear friend of mine, went to college together and is from Eastern Iowa and ended up going to Iowa State, getting a degree, and has since transplanted himself to China. So we affectionately call him China Chad. China Chad, how are you tonight?
I'm doing well this morning for me.
That's right. And what time is it? So we're coming on here just about 7 o'clock Central Time in the States. What about you there in China?
It is almost 8 in the morning for us, and so
so you're just now starting your work week.
I am, and actually I have first block free, so we are good. But somehow the temperature is already about 90 degrees today.
Well, we've had some really weird weather here, and I know your folks are still in Cedar Rapids area, but I think we were close to 92, 93. I had an early morning 10-mile run, and I was regretting it about mile 4. A little hot.
I know. I've been hearing about that, and my family, is still there, and my nephew played in an arch rival football game this past weekend, so they lost, but
I want to get to talking about the game, but first, China Chad, let's kind of talk through how did you end up in China? For those audience members that are sitting at home wondering, why am I paying attention to this guy? Where's Marcus? Where's Brent? But you've got a kind of a unique story immediately out of college that you ended up, and I came to visit you. You had an opportunity to teach in China. Then you went to Dubai, or was it China, Dubai, then back to China, or was it Dubai, then China, then home, then back to China? Walk me through that.
The whole process was actually I always had this interest to go overseas, but it was at your wedding through a mutual friend that kind of started me on my journey. And so I was able to get a job out in the Pacific Ocean on the island of Saipan, working in essence at a Club Med. And that once how easy it is to travel, and you always think it's difficult, and it's really not. And so there it kind of started me on my journey, and I started looking at international schools. And I taught in Colorado for a couple of years. I did teach in Iowa for a couple of years, but I have spent most of my career overseas. So I was in South America first, in Venezuela. And then I came back, but I had to do the grown-up thing, buy a house, but, had to quickly leave and pivot there. So I went to Dubai, and I was there for 12 years. And from there, I made a move to China because I thought it was an opening market. And I really liked a lot of the history and things there. And so I was here 6 years through COVID. And so even during COVID, it was, all the stuff that's going around the world. We felt extremely safe here. Everything kind of almost went back to normal, except we could leave the country. And so getting back into the country was very difficult. So we stayed here with my family through 3 years of COVID. And we came back to America for 2 years and just missed the international lifestyle. So we started looking again at other schools, and we were looking all over the world at different opportunities. But our old director reached out to us and said, "We really want you here." Kind of made us an offer we couldn't refuse, I guess you say. So we really, really enjoy Hangzhou, China. It's a beautiful area, and we're very happy with our decision.
Well, that's one of the things I've always admired about you. And, when I was working for a different organization, had a chance to travel internationally. It really is great experience. And especially for you having younger children, to be able to show them different cultures, give them different experiences. And I know you've been back and you continue to cheer on the Cyclones from China. How does that work out with all the time differences and scheduling of games? We've had games as early as 11 o'clock, obviously the Cyhawk game. We played games at 7, 8 o'clock at night. Remember last year, we had some really late games for us, but that probably worked out exceptionally well for you.
Yeah, I will say that it does interrupt my sleep schedule quite a bit. But, it's one of those things where, I'm not, a lot of people around here follow pro sports and things like that. I just follow college. I follow Iowa State. And so for me, it's kind of my commitment thing where, if I have to get up in the morning, I've gotten up at 4 in. This past game for Arkansas State, I had to get up at 4 in, and then at the beginning there kind of wondered why I had gotten up at first, but, things worked out there. So the later games sometimes are better for me because it's closer to my morning. So I do enjoy that, but it's just kind of what it is.
So the 11 a.m. kickoffs are probably absolutely brutal for you.
They are a little tough. They are a little tough.
So we've obviously been in contact. You watched that Iowa game, right? Did you watch the live version of it, or were you watching it on delay?
I did. There was a slight delay with what was going on, but I'd watch it live.
Okay. So here's an image. You probably remember this infamous game, but 4 friends all somehow made it down. We were a little bit heavier there. At least one of us was. Ended up going down to that Kansas City game against Florida State, back in 2000, well, I guess it's on the picture there. It's 2002. What do you remember of that particular trip? Obviously, that was the infamous Seneca was in game, right? The Eddie Robinson kickoff classic. We all debated on it. And I remember vividly how much that Arrowhead Stadium was shaking in those last minutes of that game on that drive as Iowa State was driving down and had ultimately scored. The referees disagreed, but we all know Seneca had scored. What do you remember about that game?
I mean, I'd agree. And one of my memories is just how close everything was. And even afterwards, how I remember leaving the stadium and all I could hear was everyone was so proud of the team. And I remember you and talking prior, we were very optimistic about the team that year. And we're like, ooh, what are we going to be like? There's an opportunity. There's chances. And I remember during that game, as we were walking out, everyone just started chanting ISU, ISU, because even though we had lost, Florida State was the third in the country, I believe, at the time. And so we all thought, oh, wow, we have something here. And so it was a great experience. I remember it being a very live crowd, Arrowhead Stadium, right? It was a great stadium. And it's just one of those great, great memories where it really kind of felt almost as a home game.
So how's that experience been for you, continuing to follow the Cyclones when pretty much your entire career you have been in another country, a different time zone? Today it's probably quite a bit easier because we have the power of a computer on our phones. Although you may have a few more restrictions in China than we do in the States, but what's that been like for you to be able to follow the Cyclones, and especially now versus back in 2000 when the internet just wasn't as readily available to you?
I mean, you have to work at it. It is much, much easier today. You do have the internet, YouTube. There's so many different interviews that go on out there, different people doing podcasts of different things. And so
this is probably one of your favorites, though, right?
Yeah, of course.
Good.
And it's one of those things that you just have to kind of stay plugged in. And so this is like my one hobby. It's just following Iowa State, a lot of different things that I do. And so, I have a lot of different opportunities to plug in on things. Now, in the past, I'd only hear about stuff through different people, emails, when I was traveling around. There was a time there where, I was backpacking around. And so it was a little more difficult. But, there's certain situations where I knew something very important would be coming up, and I would try to get somewhere where I could, listen. There were times early on where you could pick up radio stations, and it wasn't difficult. I could pick up a local radio station on the internet. Nowadays, it's a little more difficult, but I could easily tap in, back then to different stations. And so, I would follow different things. Cyclone TV, there was, I was doing that for a while, watching different games, and you kind of have to make peace certain things that you're not going to be able to content on. But today it is a lot easier. It is definitely easier.
So we just had this game against Arkansas State. Danny Ryan, who is a friend of the show and a frequent contributor, is asking the question, how today are you finding a lot of these games on TV? Is it as simple as just logging into an internet site, or are there other tricks to the trade for those of you who are living overseas?
We do have that. There are opportunities here. You can get some of the cable networks and things that we have. We can get all cable games, all NFL games. There is all of that. One of the tricks that I have, very simple, is sometimes I'll hop on YouTube. And so YouTube, there'll be live streams. Now, there's different things with that. So there was a time there where I would do that, get into games. And for a while there, I could pick up a lot of different games. Just simply on YouTube, just do a late stream. Some of the bigger games, they're blocked, and I have to go into other resources to find games where I get in, and watch it through different people. But it can be, it's not that difficult.
Okay. One of the things that you and I debate on quite a bit is the use of the flag. And before we start talking Arkansas State, I just want to toss it up there. So I work at a very prominent business that is full of Iowa fans.
Yeah.
And I could not resist hanging this up outside my office, hung it up all week, and no one came to see me.
It was very quiet from a lot of my friends last week as well, or 2 weeks ago. Not a lot of chatter going back and forth. And so, I found that interesting because normally the moment, the prior week game finishes, all I'm hearing is how the team out east is going to go ahead and give us a thumping, and that it just starts from 30 seconds after a game finishes. And it was very, very quiet all that week. And so I found that a little interesting, and I still haven't heard anything from some of them. and I'm just kind of letting it be quiet here, and then I'll start to remind them when I come back. I might send them some postcards and things with the score.
So I have
But
that. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, having said that, I have teachers from all over the United States, that are here, and they have different fans. I have one teacher is a big Miami fan. We have another one that's in Oklahoma State. My assistant director, he actually went to school, his undergrad at Oklahoma State, and then his graduate work at Arizona State. So, we had a couple of friendly bets last year on some things, and it's kind of fun. None of us really care for the SEC, so we all get along there. And I'm slowly recruiting people over to the Iowa State side. So anyone that's not a big fan or have a college team is slowly over the years here has started to convert a little bit to Iowa State. And I think this, I suppose I'm getting off topic a little bit. Our school, we're very blessed, like during Thanksgiving, our school put on a very large meal. We get like 8 turkeys, and so they provide everything. So we have PD through the morning, and the whole afternoon is set aside for all the staff to get together, and we have a great big meal. And so for a lot of staff, they're not American, so this is a different custom. But every year that I have been here, we've played Iowa State football games on TVs. And so my head director right now is kind of a secret Iowa State fan. I have different teachers that are all about Iowa State. Last year, we had a couple of new teachers that were big Texas fans. And so I pulled up, what was it, 2021 or 2022 when we beat Texas, came down to the field goal. I pulled that game up, and then I had the whiteout game. I played both of those. So we had this in our new campus here. We had TVs all over the whole campus. So it was actually playing no matter where they went on campus. Our games were playing all day long on the TV. So my little tidbit there of watching the games and kind of recruiting different things. But
So Matt Campbell may want to consider recruiting kids from your school in China then, because you're converting them over.
well, I talked to you about this as well. One of my past students.
Oh, Chad, we may have lost you there. My friend.
They bought tickets in Ireland. They went to the game. I'm going back and forth with him, and his comments were like, "This is just crazy." Right? He grew up a big soccer fan. Grew up, going European soccer and things like that. But he thought it was crazy, and just the size and the speed. We were talking back and forth in the hits, of the game, and so it was very interesting talking to him. And I keep sending him these updates, recap videos, and things like that. And I said, you're an Iowa State fan now. And he's like, I am. And he goes, my favorite basketball player right now. And he sent me a picture of Tyrese, Halliburton right there, with George Niang, and how he was doing that, yelling at the crowd. So
Yeah,
he sent me that
game.
new basketball player. And I'm just like, there, we got another convert right there.
All right, I have to ask, where is your poster? So every year, for the audience's sake, I make sure that I get you some posters to hang up to take back to China. I did not do that this year. Were you able to grab one?
Never were able to connect because my summer was so chaotic, because I was only back for a couple of weeks. And so right now I just taken down the football schedule from 2 years ago, but I have the Trice poster right there. So
Okay.
that one.
Looks good.
And then I have last year's football schedule. So I usually try to keep the 2 years. So there's that one.
Yeah, I'm leaving that one up. Just, that is the 50th anniversary poster
that's
of Jack Trice
beautiful.
Stadium. So I have kept mine up as well.
And then I did have a few others. There is my view in my classroom right there. So that's my view.
That's
But
terrible. That's terrible.
it's a rough life I'm living right here. I do have, and I have it rolled up, I have a signed poster from Matt Campbell. And so I have that one right over here that I didn't put it up this year because I had to put up a few other things because I'm teaching a different subject. And then as you know, when I moved back, I only lost one box of all the things that we moved. And that one box had my Iowa State poster, or my flag, my great big flag that I had every year, or every place that I have to around the world. I've always had that on display. Yep, that flag.
This one, like I have outside my house. Yes.
Yeah, I had that display on my wall, hanging from the ceiling. Every classroom I've been around the world. So I sent it home. Lost that one. I lost a sock. You know, one of the things that you used to put on our car when we drive, you know, from Cedar Rapids to Ames. And I lost a couple of other posters. So it was in one box where I had some other things in there. So luckily I didn't lose all my Iowa State items, but I lost a few.
I am so sorry to hear that, my friend. I know that hurts. Send me your address so I can try to, maybe I can replace some of those things and send them out to you. I'd put them all in one box or something. And
oh, well, it's one of those things when I come home, it's always, you know, 3 children traveling. It always comes down to luggage and weight. And so now that we're back and it's kind of our second time here, I'll be able to bring more things back when we come home at Christmas this year.
Well, and when you do come back, we have a new sponsor, JJ's Boutique up in Johnston. And they just signed on with the show. You'll have to take your wife there, but what they do is they help create different packages of attire for your spouse. It's really geared for women. I should see if they can help me out because I could probably use some. But you should really check in the next time you're out. In fact, maybe the next time you're back, if you're back over the holidays, we can go in there together and do some shopping. What do you say?
I like that plan. I like that a lot.
Right. That sounds good. So I want to take a quick timeout, hear a word from our sponsors, and then let's come back on the other side and talk a little bit about that Arkansas State game. If you want to throw some shade and maybe talk smack about the team out east, we can do that too. But we'll primarily focus, if it's okay with you, on the last game this past weekend against Arkansas.
Making great tasting bourbon requires the perfect combination of ingredients, conditions, and time. The longer it rests, the better it tastes. Revelton Distillery's new single barrel bourbon corn sourced 100% from Iowa farmers. And unlike mass-produced bourbons, each barrel of Revelton single barrel bourbon is unique, proof on when it tastes best. As they like to say, it'll be ready when it's ready. Standards of quality and flavor, owners Rob and Christy Taylor oversee the production and bottling. Every single barrel. Iowa born, Iowa aged, Iowa bottled. Try the new single barrel bourbon from Iowa's own Revelton Distillery.
Gentlemen, let's be honest. Finding the perfect gift for your wife or girlfriend isn't always easy. You want something thoughtful, stylish, and unique. Styled by JJ Boutique. Julia Bradshaw and her team strive to be your go-to boutique for casual, boho, and chic clothing and accessories, helping women elevate their style one piece at a time. Located right here in Johnston, trendy, high-quality fashion that boosts confidence without breaking the bank. So, if you're looking for a gift that says, I get you, instead of I tried, head to Styled by JJ Boutique. Because nothing makes her smile like feeling beautiful. Styled by JJ Boutique, where style meets confidence. Visit our Johnston location or shopboutique.com.
All right, we're back to In the Side of the Storm, and our guest tonight is China Chad. We've talked a little bit before the break there, Chad, about just our experiences with Iowa State athletics and the Florida State game and all sorts of fun memories. It seemed like we had another long road trip didn't we go down to the Independence Bowl game together?
We did. That was another experience for Tony Elk, right?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah,
First Alabama. I remember
we had Ellis. You probably heard last week. We had Ellis Hobbs on, and we talked a little bit about that game. And the irony is that the Iowa game, we saw almost an exact replica. It wasn't at the end of the game, but it was in the middle of the game where Iowa kicked that field goal, And sitting in the stands, I thought, oh, it's in. But then I've been trying to rewatch these games. I did not rewatch this Arkansas State for obvious reasons, but I went back and watched that Iowa game, and that kick was exceptionally questionable, but it was very close to what we saw down there against Alabama in that Independence Bowl game with Tony Elkin. I tell you what, if they count that game, they count that score, we win that game, that just sets probably a different trajectory for Coach Campbell or for Coach McCarney.
Yep.
And the Iowa State program, to be able to beat a team like a prominent team like Alabama, that's that's considered one of the blue bloods. Which I don't know. Have you seen the AP Top 25 for this
I
week?
haven't yet. I haven't looked at it yet. Did we drop or did?
Well, no, we actually went up, so we are sitting at 12th.
I wondered if we would, because you had Notre Dame lose
and
2. You had Georgia Tech beat Clemson. So Clemson has 2 losses. I mean, so you have a few ahead of us. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head who else.
So we've got, and I'm going to list the top 12 because that's all that we need for this exercise. Ohio State, Penn State, LSU, Miami, Georgia at 5, Oregon, Florida State, Texas, Illinois, Texas A&M, Oklahoma, and then at number 12, Iowa State. All blue bloods.
Yeah.
How does that make you feel like as an alum? Because when we were in college, that football team sucked. I mean, they were playing on concrete. The wind tunnel would blow through there.
Yeah.
The student section was way up at the upper deck on the east side, so you would just bake in the sun. It was horrible. And yet we went every game and had a ton of fun. Probably got in for free. I honestly don't remember how I got in, but to be able to see the stadium experience today compared with the early 90s, it's
one
so
thing
different.
Yeah, it's amazing to me too. You look back, had certain people with a vision, and you really have to give Pollard credit for this because he has been there for a very long period. International teachers tend to go to a school and they'll be there for a couple of years and they leave. But you have teachers that stay there for a long period of time. There's a definite continuity. They know how the system works. They know the people, the clientele, and they make a difference. And so Pollard has been here, in his first couple of hires. I'm a little, I wish we could have kept Kale. I really wish with our wrestling program. He did a couple of the hires early on. And at the time, Gene Chizik, everybody thought that was a home run hit. We all thought, whoa, you pulled this guy out. We all believed that was a home run hire. If you look at the things that he has done with the vision, when I was in Dubai, you have Sheikh Zayed who came in the 70s, and Dubai is just a dirt. I mean, there was nothing. There is no natural resource really there. Oil, natural gas is all Abu Dhabi. That's not Dubai. And so he kind of had a vision. And they built this one, it's called the Trade Tower. Literally, when he built it, it was out in the middle of the desert. And everyone's like, what are you doing? But the whole city now has just expanded. It was this vision, and you look at that. So I say that because you look at Pollard, and Pollard had this vision, and he got some coaches in there, and he's working at it, staying true to his vision. And granted, as we start to see more success in things, he's had people buy in. They've also seen that. He's had people to believe in his vision. He's hired coaches. They all go, in that same vision. And it is unbelievable. We are a major atmosphere right now. We're just right there, and people don't fully realize what we have. And granted, our location probably has part of that, costs, everything else, but we have a fan base that is just hungry for this. They're very, very hungry for it. And I think people look back to total brain fart. Who was the coach that left us in early 80s and went to Ohio State?
Earl Bruce.
Earl Bruce. You know, you look at that time, we had all of the momentum going, you know, and Earl Bruce, you know, as the story goes, he regretted always taking, I shouldn't say regretted taking Ohio State, but he really kind of looked back saying, you know, I had a really good time at Iowa State and maybe I should have stayed there. And so you look at that where we kind of went into our middle-aged time, right, where everything seemed to turn against us. But we're coming out of that. And so I think just the experience, all the equipment, the facilities, that Fox game we had was unbelievable. The press that we got and how they went into the community, it just reflecting in such a light to the country. And I look at all these things and the wins and the culture that we have set up with people to the NFL, and the people that we have in the NFL are becoming very prominent and outspoken in certain things. I think it's just helping to sell us to other people around the world, you know. And so I look at that, the changes, we have a lot. We offer a lot compared to when we were in school. I mean, you go to the game and then you'd wait for the first 10 minutes and you'd move seats because it'd be empty. You know, you'd go on that turf. It's hard. I remember going out there one time, you know, and just kind of running around with some friends. We were cleaning the stadium and you'd get yourself all cut up off the turf. You know, you'd dive football and have, I mean, it was rough. You know, the practice facilities, all of that, you know, and so things have definitely changed.
Well, and we've had Jamie Pollard on this show, on this program, and I just gush about him because you're right. He has done so much for Iowa State, for the Ames community. Yeah, he's pissing people off, and yeah, he won't allow beer, but you cannot deny what he has put into place for this university and the resources that he's been able to come up with of really a shoestring budget in comparison to some of the other schools that are out there. You're right. It's exceptional. It's remarkable. And another thing I'm going to add too, and we talked a little bit about this a couple of weeks ago with guys like Stevie Johnson and Ellis Hobbs, that these players that they've also laid a groundwork. And the two guys that normally are on this show, Marcus Fizer and Brent Gervais, you know, they really put their heart and soul into this program, into the university, and they really laid, you know, part of that foundation that Coach Campbell and Coach Rhodes before that, and obviously Coach McCarney, have been able to put into place. And we're just seeing success across all of our sports, from football to men's basketball to women's basketball. And, you know, Coach Fennelly's been there for 30 years now.
I know.
Cross country has always been really good.
Yeah. I was going to say, you know, our women's basketball program, I remember they were trying to get different people just to come out and try out for the team. They were losing players. You know, I remember someone we knew that kind of went there as a manager, and then they ended up playing a game. And then he came in, and just the change. It's very much, and anyone that's coached, you know how hard it is to turn a culture. You get that losing mentality. You'll be up and you're excited, and the minute something starts to go against you, you're like, oh, here we go again. It is tough to change the culture. And those, just like you said, those people that came in with the belief system they had, and we are going to get through this. It's made drastic changes.
You talk about culture, Chad. You know, this game last week or 2 days ago against Arkansas State, that to me was all about our culture, because in prior years, we've lost to UNI. We almost lost to a Drake. You know, we've had some ugly games against sub-talented teams. And granted, we were playing, if you think about it, and I've heard a lot of podcasts as well talk about this, you play overseas against Kansas State, a bitter rival. You knew going in that was going to be an exceptionally tough game. You have to fly all the way out there, fly all the way back. Boom. You have to play against a good FCS school in South Dakota. I know it's a different school, but we came out and really played really well that game. And then a week later, you're playing in this big Fox, which, by the way, I would much rather take Fox than ESPN. I thought they did a great job. To your
Absolutely.
point, that the between social media and getting out in the community, and just they didn't rely on, oh, we're a bunch of farmers. That's sort of this thing that comes up that ESPN likes to throw out there for anytime we're on Big Monday. It's all about the corn. Iowa's much more than that. Yes, agriculture is a very
It
important
is.
part to the state, but Iowa is much more than that. So I thought Fox did a great job. So coming back, we play that tough game against Iowa, which I'm going to pop this up here, but Denny Ryan again chimes in. God bless you, Denny. Didn't the team out east play the Sisters of the Cross Junior College this week?
They did. They did.
They did. They did.
That
So
that is a big.
we play Iowa, and then the concern was a letdown. This is a team that we beat 52-7 a year ago in Jack Trice. We have to go down there, play in an ungodly heat after it cooled off in central Iowa previously for a couple of weeks. I mean, the Iowa game was absolutely beautiful out.
Perfect.
Maybe a little warm for football, but it was beautiful. Got to go down and play in that heat. Pretty much everyone played. We had a couple of injuries that popped up. That Gabe Burkle, it was announced he was not able to play. John Tez Williams had some sort of injury in the first half, so he was out. Kyle Conradi, we saw somehow. To me, it looked like maybe it was a groin or something like that, but that's just speculation. I have not seen or heard anything on that. So there were some injuries that we were fighting against, and it was a dogfight. You look at that into that first half, we go down. We haven't been behind any team all season, and then all of a sudden we're down to a team that we beat last year 52-7, and threatening to go into halftime where Arkansas State was going to get the ball back. And what's Rocco do? Rocco starts cooking, right? Throws that touchdown pass, and we're back up and feeling a little bit better. Not great, but it sort of had you feel like, okay, we're going to be okay. We've turned the switch. I don't know that we necessarily did completely, but you talk about culture. To me, that game this weekend, that was about culture. That was about, hey, we're going to jump on Rocco's back. We're going to jump on Hanson and Abu Sama's back in that second half and just pound away. We're going to find a way to win.
Yep. I totally agree. I look at all these different games that we've been going on, and like you said, we haven't really been behind. Traveling, the logistics behind that, you kind of sometimes forget these guys are students as well. So they're going to school beside football. When I'm traveling and jumping around, game. I'm not going out playing a game and doing some different things. These guys had to jump right back into the routine, going to school and all of that. So there is an effect there. I look at this week too. I'm extremely happy that we traveled there instead of having them at home, because I think that made a slight change to kind of keep it on, their minds. But I look at it too, early on, that very first series, it was kind of an aggressive play calling. I like that, with the passes. The receivers were wide open, and Rocco was off on all three of those passes on the opening. And so I'm like,
he was off that first quarter, I think.
Yeah. But I think if he connects on any of those, we start moving, the ball rate, because they were open. And so I kind of wondered right off the bat, like, okay, what kind of game is this going to be? Even last year, though, it was close early on until we had some defensive turnovers. And we got that ball back, and as soon as we jumped on them, then, some of their fight was gone. This one, we kind of kept into it. And that turf, I'm assuming it was artificial turf. So it's got that black underneath. So I think at one point they showed a temperature was like 114, I think it was, on the field. And when you're out there playing, in Dubai, I've been in extreme heat here where I'm at in Hangzhou. It gets really hot. And when we do out, I've been on these artificial turfs with that black underneath. It gets warm, and it feels like there's no air movement or anything. So what I saw in the game is we took a couple of shots. If we connected, we'd probably having a different conversation on a few different things. But it seemed like also we were subbing a lot of different guys in. It looked like there was a lot of different players playing. And so I really like that strategy too early on in the season. As many guys as we can get in for limited snaps, but you're getting them in. I like that because injuries are going to happen. The season's long. There's going to be different things. And if we can get them, some game experience here and there, especially in this situation, they're under some pressure. But having that sub, trying to keep guys somewhat fresh. But you saw too, like I'll say that switch flip, like they scored and all of a sudden there was that sense of urgency with us, right? It was almost the half. We got to get the ball down there, and all of a sudden everything was crisp. Boom, boom, boom. What was it? 3 plays, 4 plays? We score, whatever it was. There's that sense of urgency, and the 2-point conversion rate afterwards, just like, okay, we have it in us. So I think mentally, you're talking a couple of tough games that were going on, and then the travel down there. I think this bye week is coming at a great time. These guys really need to kind of fix their bodies a little bit and recover. That heat, I definitely plays a part in it. It for sure plays a part in it when it's that artificial turf. But I look at these different things, the culture, you're very right. A few things don't go your way, and what happens? People get frustrated, right? But guys kept the course. They kept at it. Let's go back to our run game. Let's do this. Let's do that. How about our defense? That quarterback, man, did he make some great plays? Like defense, we have them all kind of bottled up. It's 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, and all of a sudden he does these scrambles or he does this or that. And our linebackers have looked really fast. I would say this is the first game we didn't look as fast as some of the other games. Some of the other games, it just we pop right off the screen with our speed. This one didn't seem like we looked quite as fast. Maybe there's other things that were in that. But I'm just happy we're 4-0. We're 4-0. That's all at the end.
Well, and Rayner looked like, I think, what we expected to see out of Avery Johnson in Kansas State. And this kid looked every game. Coach Campbell talks about, well, that's probably the best defense we may see all year. I'm really worried about them. And then we come out and win big, or, this is going to be the best quarterback that we'll probably see all season. And a lot of people were laughing at Campbell, saying, "Oh, you say that about every game. You're trying to not let your team get complacent." But Rayner, he may have been the best quarterback that we see all season.
He was definitely good, and the receiver they had, I forget his name, something Junior. He seemed to be fairly legit, making some big plays for them. When you keep a team like that in it, they believe. That's one of the reasons I love college football, is that you give guys a belief system and they're going to latch onto it and keep going. And he was fighting. I mean, he was definitely doing a lot of things for them, keeping them in that game. And so, credit to them. They didn't give up. They didn't fold. They kept at it. But I think the resolve that we had as well is definitely something that will continue to build for us. We're in all of these close games. This is another one score game. How many of those have we had this year? 3, right?
Too many.
So, but in any of them, there was times where you were kind of getting nervous, but it's gotta build for the team. We find a way. We're gonna win. And we've all been a part of a team too, where it kind of comes on that crunch time. You're doing something, you're like, okay, let's get it done. We're going to take care of business, and you do it. And so it continues to add to that belief system. It continues to build the culture. Here's something else the coach can point back to and say, remember this, remember that. We've been in this before. What are you going to do? Take care of your assignments. Take care of what you need to do. No one has to win this game individually for us. We're going to do it as a team. And so they all step up. You do your assignment, Let's get this. And so it just continues to add to that. And what I love is, he keeps playing his younger players as well. He's instilling this culture for years to come. And so I'm excited where the program's going. I'm really excited about that. I'm worried about NIL a little bit, but you also have the players that they've chosen to stay. And so there's a lot to be said with that. and I think the coaches talk about that. And granted, a lot of the players we get are a certain type of player. The coaches have talked about that. Someone that loves football, someone that loves basketball, someone that loves, volleyball, cross country, running, wrestling, and all of these things. And so they talk about this when they're recruiting, but it's that buy-in. And just, again, the university offers so much to these players, and if they can get past some of the initial upfront dollar signs and just understand the full picture, there's a lot of benefit.
How much fun is it for you to sit back as a fan, as an alum, to see someone so aggressive like Taylor Mauser is as offensive coordinator to go out there? You could almost predict it. He came out with that immediate long throw, that first attempt from Rocco, that I thought, if that hit, game's over right then. Because if you're Arkansas State, you're going, no way, not again.
And he follows it up with another, great pass. I love it. I really, really love it. I love, you're gonna win. A lot of times you say the aggressor wins, and they tried to be aggressive at first. I love that. Take your chances. At the same point, when it wasn't quite there, what did they do? They went back to their run game. They went back to certain things. Let's field position a little bit. Let's do that. And so the adjustments that they make. But I absolutely love the fact that we go out there and have these dynamic offense. They'll run some plays and you're like, oh, look at that, and it's exciting, right? It's exciting football. It caters all the uniform changes, right? It's exciting. So it's easy for me to talk about Iowa State internationally and to different people. I bring up, and I can bring up different games because I'm always bringing up different things. And it's always like we have different uniforms or different situations. We're on this media outlet or that media outlet. And it is exciting times.
So you bring up some interesting points that I try to ask of any of the guests that are on. And because you're a lot older than I am, what's your favorite uniform combination? I mean, I got to say, I really like the Cyclone script that it's been added this year with the light gold outline on it. And I think the uniform combination is just phenomenal. I'm one of those that I appreciate the blacks and the whites. I know there's a lot of alum that hate it with just a passion. I'm also a fan of Cyanado. I want that back. I know it's not coming back, but I really like it. Change out the tertiary blue with a dark gray or a black. I think that's been our best logo ever. I've been forced to adopt the I-State, but I like the color scheme that came in with the I-State, the more of the darker red or darker cardinal and golder gold versus the bright yellow. But it feels like this combination is perfect.
Yeah, I think one of my favorite combinations was one of the throwbacks when we played Iowa. And was it Chiswick here where we had that? I don't think it was the Trice outfit we had on, but that throwback with the old uniform, I think, is one of my favorite. I do like the black. I really do. I like the script. I like and if you remember the Cy and the Tornado, right? The Cyanado came about from students, right? Did a student, when we were in school, come up with that? They had like a design competition.
I don't remember because you're a lot older.
For some reason in my head, I have that thought that it kind of, our student body led where they came up with different ideas. The white, I love all of that. I liked it when Campbell came in and we did like the Storm uniform. So kind of that darker gray, the red and the gold, the cardinal and gold that we had. I thought that was a kind of a neat change up. So I never understood the blue. But that one didn't quite make sense to me. But black and white are so kind of a universal that any will switch to that. No matter what your colors are, I'm okay with it. And I like it. Part of it too is what makes the players happy. I get that. I really, really get that. And
And
having
the coaches,
coached,
right? Jamie Pollard will say, I don't care. They can wear black all they want. If that's what Coach Campbell and the players want, let them wear black, right?
and I agree, because if the players are happy and they're feeling good about themselves, it's going to be reflected. So I look at all of that, that now, what was it? The independence, not the independence, another total brain fart where we're all red, the total red. And we had the
Inside.com. We did.
yes. I still am a little partial to that. Just because probably our first bowl win, and things like that. But Billups, running down the sideline, all that. But I still kind of like that. But I definitely like some of the combinations that we're doing today. I love the mix-up. I love how games are all different.
So we are 4-0 for the second time in well, it's consecutive years, and I think this is 4-0 for the third time in our football team's history. So what Campbell has done with the program is it's exceptional. Again, last year we ended up 11-3 going to the Big 12 title game against Arizona State. We know how that turned out. It ended up coming back and playing against the Heisman Trophy winner, Cam Ward, and beat Miami in the Pop-Tarts Bowl game, which was a ton of fun to watch. It just feels like we're in such special times right now that we really should be watching and paying attention, because this feels like it's either we're in the middle of something exceptional, or we're just on the precipice, and you want to be a part of the wave, right? You want to start riding that wave in, because it feels like this team in particular, last weekend against Arkansas State was a tough game. And I really wish we'd gone out and blown them out by 5 touchdowns. I'm a little jealous of that team out east. But again, like Denny said, it was the Sisters of the Cross Junior College. But it feels like this coaching staff has a bigger vision in mind. And it's more than just appearances in the Big 12 title game. I think there is a legitimate I think they feel like they can take Iowa State to a national title. What do you think about that?
I believe that they do have a vision, and we've talked a little bit about that. Very much a vision. And Golich, there was an interview that was out recently of him talking about when him and Campbell came to Iowa State.
I'm glad you heard that as well. So if you could tee that up a little bit. I think that interview was over the summer with Alex Golich, who's now the head coach of South Florida, who came out with 2 upsets in their first 2 games, lost last night against Miami.
Correct. And he talks about Campbell came in and said, we're going to win a national title here. And so, it's
Golich is like, what are you talking about? This is Iowa State. We're not winning a national title. And Coach Campbell said, we're going to win a national title here.
And you think about when he came into the facilities and everything that we had. And I remember when he came in, he was talking about compared to just the strength of the team compared to Toledo, and how Toledo was so much stronger, physically stronger, than we were. And so just that belief system, and you have to give him credit. He has stayed true to his vision, good times, bad times. He's had chances to jump ship, but he hasn't. And I think it's very much true to him of what he wants to do, and I look at it, we have some good talent, do we have elite talent? No, but, elite talent doesn't always win. And so we have guys that believe, that play to the whistle, that play tough physical football. Anything can happen. They've been recruiting faster players. Our strength program guys are stronger. We're doing a lot of subbing. It gets later in the season. You're going to have injuries, and all that plays a very important role. And so you look at where we are. We played a Miami team that is fast, very physical. And, it kind of made me a little crazy where everyone kept saying, oh, yeah, Cam Ward's out. They were only winning by 3 at half. Only 3. And you always look at all the adjustments that we always make, Haycock and all that. Have been a second half team. And so granted, it did affect Miami, but we stayed the course, and they were still doing things. I believe that there is that opportunity. Now, Big 12 is still wide open this year. I think we definitely are going to have to play some great football to get back to that Big 12 championship. I'm so hopeful that we get over that hump and we win that championship for the first time. I'm very anxious for that, because I think what it would do for the program and the fan base, that would be a big step. That would really be something big. And the recruits they have coming in, the different ways that they're recruiting, I can see it. I can see it happening, at least the opportunity, the belief, right? In the past, we've never oh yeah, that's nice, but we're not going to get there unless everything falls our way. We're not going to get as much falling our way. He has definitely got the culture in, coaches. I think you're definitely going to see the tree, and that's one of my biggest things right now is what's going to happen after this year. If we have success that we think that we're going to have 2 years in a row, are we going to start losing some of our coaches? Mauser's got to be up there with several people right now. Got to be looking at him like, look at this guy. We have a lot of different coaches that could be plucked. So I'm anxious. I think the window, I don't want to say it's small. I don't believe that, but I believe that we do need to capitalize on some of this. And I believe with our leadership, they know what's at stake, and they're trying to continue the course. They're trying to lay the groundwork to continue with this, and not just have it be, oh, that was a great season. Oh, we had 2 good seasons, all because we had this piece or that piece, at Rocco. That's why we did it. No, we're laying the groundwork for continued success.
I know you're a big recruiting guy, and you and I have had side conversations about it, and you follow it with a passion. You'll shoot me a text or an email and say, did you see who they just got? And I watch, I'm intrigued by it. I'm probably more intrigued on the basketball side, because I think you can see some of the skill sets and the talent, where the football side, a lot of it's so developmental. And you think of a guy like J.J. Cole. I don't remember how many stars he had after his name, 4 or 5, and I remember seeing him play a game, probably against Valley or somebody like that, and thinking, okay, that guy has some moxie to him. I'd see him up at Iowa State games when he was in high school, and he carried himself with a certain moxie that you thought, that guy's going to be something. I was really surprised. He didn't do much when he was in Ames. Now, granted, he came in, I think, in the same class with Rocco, but he's not playing at App State either. So maybe just the light needs to be flipped on for him. Maybe it's reading the defense. I don't know what it is. When he was with us, it seemed like he preferred to run, but when you're 6'7", you should be able to just throw the ball, not run as much. So I don't know if that's part of it, but I see your point that this coaching staff and what they've put together, from culture and the type of kids that they want to bring in. They're bringing in kids that have fire, that have a passion. You're right. I'm going to coach them up. I would almost rather see kids that are coming in with that fire, that's a 1-star or no star, that will listen and learn from the coaches, that come out and give their all, than even the 5-star kid.
Yeah, I lost you a little bit there, but I think I get the essence of what you're saying. I think that he's very much went and got a lot of guys that want to go to work. They want to be coached up. They want to buy into a system. And I think our talent level is getting better. You look at some of the guys that I guess I look at some of the players that they were recruiting and we didn't get. Was it Jeremiah Love at Notre Dame, and he's one of the better running backs in the nation.
He looked
They have
really
another
good
run.
last night too.
You look at there's a running back at Penn State that we were very much after as well. Even their quarterback, Aller, something like that.
Aller.
Yeah, he was. We were on him quite a bit as well. And I look at who they identify. Even if they leave us and go somewhere else, what's the success that they're having at these other places? And so I look at some of that, and the guys that we get and develop, and we're starting to get better and better players, and I remember years ago, I'd say, okay, how many guys do we have above a 0.5, right? How many guys are a 5.5, 5.6, and we were getting half of our recruiting underneath the 5.5. And now most of it is in that 5.7, 5.8, whatever recruiting thing that you're going on. And there's a lot of guys in the history of football that have been very, very good. That's still a quality football player. Are they elite, or at least elite in high school? Maybe, but it could be the services, how they rank people, could be they're still growing into their body. There's a lot of people being a teacher. I see kids that graduate, and then I see them a couple years later and they've changed. You still getting some of these kids that are growing. My nephew, who plays for Mount Vernon, he's still kind of in his growth spurt. He's a senior and he's like 6'1", 240 pounds right now. He's still growing, and just like Campbell gets some of these guys that love football, that are blue collar, and they're growing into theirs. And that's what I love too, that they still get some of these high school recruits at the end of the football season after really good senior year, and so I like that they leave stuff open for that. Our talent level is getting higher and higher, and we have guys coming in. It's promising. It really is promising, and showing that they're not afraid to play younger players. So they have been doing that. And so it might not be, you have to come in with the mentality that if I don't start, I'm leaving. You got to work at it. And so I think he's been very honest with people coming in, and probably the players that they're recruiting. It's that mentality was, knowing I have to work for my position. But looking at that, the talent level compared to when we were in school till now is just unbelievable.
Night and day.
And
well, and you're right, Chad. I mean, they moved Jeremiah Cooper, who was playing safety at an all Big 12 caliber, to corner in order to get some of the young guys in. I mean, that says a lot when you're a high school recruit coming in going, hey, I want to go somewhere where I can play. And you can point to all of these examples of things that this coaching staff has done to I wouldn't say accommodate, but to be able to reshuffle the deck a little bit, saying, we're going to get the best players out there. And
how about Cooper move? Like that's a total team move. Here's a guy that is looking at the NFL, possible NFL, aspirations and things. This is a position that he knows that he's very good at. And then he moves positions, to allow a freshman come in, and the freshmen are taking their lump right now. There are mistakes that he's probably going, I can take care of that. I wouldn't have done this. I wouldn't have done that, but he has made a move, and you have all these guys that are doing that. They're making moves that are for the team, and that's buy-in. That's a cultural buy-in.
All right. So I promise you, we would get you at the top of the hour. This is Monday for you. You have classes to teach.
Yeah, they're about to walk in.
We're number 12 in the AP poll, as we had talked a little bit earlier. Next week is a bye week, and then we come back against Arizona, home game against Arizona at Jack Trice Stadium. The time has not yet been released. It is a whiteout game. That seems to make a lot of sense to either be the 2:30 kick or a night game, which a night game, whiteout, I think it's going to be absolutely electric. Chad,
Yep.
You're in China. What are your plans for this bye week? What do you do with yourself with no Cyclones?
Well, I'll probably go take care of a couple of doctor visits and things like that on the weekend, whatever I need to do, right? I need to take care of things that I'm not totally exhausted in the morning, but I'll continue to check on different things and all that, but I am so excited for where we're going. That Arizona game, they just beat Kansas State, and they have a strong belief system. There's a team last year that was projected to be pretty good, and they had a down year. So this is kind of a reflection on their culture and what they have. They have talent. So I think it's going to be a dogfight. But I love that it's another night game. If it's a whiteout, I think this is all that we're talking about, that atmosphere, right? These are things that we never had when we were there. And it just keeps building our culture, our fan base, and what we have to offer these fans. hope we bring in a bunch of recruits for it, because this is going to be fun. This is going to be a lot of fun.
As we close out for the day, or for the night for me, for the morning for you, Revelton Distillery has been one of our prominent advertisers and sponsors of this program for the last 2 or 3 years that we've been in existence. And they do a lot of great things with Three Beards Media. Do you have a chance to get Revelton? They're now distributing to 42 states in the United States. Any chance? I wonder what the rules are with shipping whiskey from Iowa, because I'm going to talk to Chris Shipley, who owns and runs Three Beards. I'm going to talk to him and see if we can get you some, because I really appreciate you being on, Chad. It's been a lot of fun to reconnect. You know, I love you. You're my brother. Been trying to get you on for a while now, just to talk Cyclones.
Yeah, and you do know, because I'm always promoting the state. So anytime I lose the bet, they're Ames Lager, or it's Cody Road, or it's Cedar Ridge whiskey.
We're Revelton.
I know,
here, my friend. We're Revelton.
Revelton. But all of this, right? I need to bring this stuff, and I definitely promote it. I definitely promote it.
Well, I tell you what, that when you come back, especially if it's over the Christmas break, we'll go out to Revelton. We're going to stop in. They've got a tasting center down in Osceola. We'll check that out.
Really?
Then we'll make the drive, or better yet, maybe we'll have someone Uber. Hey, my daughter is 16 now, so we can have her Uber us down to Osceola, then Uber us up to Johnston, especially if I say, honey, I'm going to buy you an outfit at JJ Boutique as we're finishing off a bottle.
I like that. I like that plan a lot.
All right. So that's another episode of In the Side of the Storm. We appreciate everyone for joining us tonight. I can see online all of those that have been commenting and liking the program. Chadwick, China Chad, literally from China, we appreciate you being on. Again, thank you to Revelton and to JJ Boutique and our studio sponsor, Andrew Downs and AKC Marketing Studio. That's another episode of In the Side of the Storm. Everyone have a good week, and we'll see you probably in a couple of weeks. Marcus and Brent, we may come back next week for a show to preview the upcoming Arizona game. By that time, we may have a better idea of the timing of that. So take care, everyone, and go Cyclones.
Thank you.
When the team takes flight, Hilton's rocking, hear the magic call. We rise together, we'll never fall. There's a cyclone brewing on the outskirts tonight. Jack Trice shakes when the team takes flight. Hilton's rocking, hear the magic call. We rise together, we'll never fall. CYCLONES, Cyclone Nation, we're the best. CYCLONES, feel the storm, we'll never.
All right, I think it's closed out. Otherwise, we may be recording still. It's still showing as recording. So, Chad, I'll talk to you later. I'll give you a quick call on the phone here in a little bit, or text on the phone, all right?
Sounds good.
All right, have a good day.
Take care.